is Bethany, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my May wrap-up and all the things that I have read in May. So I'm still recovering a little bit from my reading slump. I'm just not reading at the volume that I started off with this year, but that's okay. I'm just trying to channel new energy into ramping up my reading again, which I think I'm there. I think I'm getting back into the swing of things. So cross your fingers. Hopefully that's the case. And at least that is my goal. I feel like I'm getting out of the reading slump and coming back into the reading volume that I had. So to start off with, what I read for the month is I was finishing up some manga reads that I had started and or was interested in when I did my manga read, 3 mangas in 30 days in April. So to start off with, I was reading Waiting for Spring by Anishin. I ended up reading 4 volumes, volume 11, 12, 13, and 14. 11 I did as an ebook, and 12 through 14 I got as physical, and so this is 12. And this was focused on Mizuki and Toma and Aya-chan. There was a little bit of a love triangle there, and she's a shy girl who ends up befriending 4 of the elite basketball players. I ended up really liking the series. I enjoyed this series so much that when I ran out of the ones that I had in Kindle Unlimited, I went and bought the rest of them so I could finish the series, and I really, really enjoyed it. I ended up rating 5 stars to 11, 12, and 13, and 4 stars to 14, mostly because 14 included a lot of bonus chapters that were part of a separate collection and were not included in their originals printed copies of the manga. But they were really confusing, and I kept forgetting like which volume they were connected to because the bonus chapters took place after each volume. So like I was kind of forgetting the plot because I had already gotten up to 14. So I felt like the bonus chapters would have made more sense throughout, but that is neither here nor there. There's also 2 short stories about the other characters, and one was really, really good, and one was kind of just okay. But the rest of the series, 11, 12, and 13, which were really the last 3 books of the manga series, were excellent, and I really enjoyed them, so all the stars. And they were a lot of fun. So I'm really glad that my manga reads ended up leading me to this one, and I ended up really, really enjoying it, and I'm probably going to keep this copy. And then, because I needed a change of pace, I decided to do some audios. So next, I ended up listening to Barbarians Prize by Ruby Dixon, going back to the Ice Planet Barbarian series. This was about Tiffany and Saluk. This was a very slow burn, friends to lovers, friends with benefits a little bit, more like, please teach me how to love again. Let's try this because I feel comfortable with you. So trigger warnings, mentions for rape. Tiffany is one of the survivors from the aliens that was raped by the aliens, because there was mentions of that in some of the earlier books. So she's having a really hard time getting all the male attention of these men like coming at her to be her mate. But Saluk is like, no, she's the one for me. I know she's the one for me. I just haven't. The mechanism that allows them to mate and know that they're mated hasn't triggered yet. Him and Tiffany just are coming together, and it was so cute and steamy, as the Ice Planet Barbarians are, and it was just really lovely. I loved how it built between the 2 of them. Saluk was just so sweet and so patient with her, and she was really trying to work through her trauma. I didn't really love her as a character, but I still really liked her and thought their connection was really great, and so I ended up rating it 4 stars. Then the next one I listened to was also part of the Ice Planet Barbarian series. This was Barbarians Mate by Ruby Dixon. I want to say I think this was 6 and 7 of the series. This was about Josie and Hayden, and I have been so looking forward to Hayden's books because he is so grump and kind of awful, but also like that like he's hurting, and I was really looking forward to Hayden's book. So Josie and Hayden was supposed to be like the grump and sunshine vibe, and I was a little bit disappointed. I was really looking forward to this, but Josie was a sunshine character, definitely. She was so optimistic and so like, we can do it. She went through some of the trauma that the other girls did, but she was really like optimistic and upbeat and really trying to make it work. And Hayden was super grumpy, but he also was really, really sweet and really wanted to do right by her, but just kept screwing up or saying the wrong things and not communicating clearly. And Josie, though, was so mean to him, like really, really mean. I just could not get like how mean she was to him. And I was really frustrated by that. At one point, she's like, I want to take out the thing that makes us mates. Like, let's just take it out. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever you want. But he wasn't going to take his out. He was just going to be miserable. She was just so mean. And all the other girls were mean to him, too. Like, every time she was like, oh, I'm mated to this guy. And all the other girls were like, oh, you poor thing. And it's like, how terrible is that? I don't know. I had a really hard time with that. So Hayden deserved better. I mean, it all worked out. And the end was still really, really sweet and really great, but I don't know. I think I wanted a little bit more between the two of them. Josie was way too mean. I kind of wanted them just to like make it work and then figure it out, but instead I went in a different direction that just I wasn't a big fan of. So I rated that one 3.5 stars. It's still really steamy, still really fun, but I just couldn't get over how awful Josie was to this poor guy. Next, I ended up reading a physical copy of a manga that I picked up at my book haul. I think it was my birthday book haul. And this was Watakoy Takoy. This is Love is Hard for an Otaku. And this is by Fujita. This was about two different couples. So we have Narumi and Hirotaka. Those are the ones pictured there. And they're the main couple. And then we have these two, Hanako and Kabukura. Narumi and Hirotaka, they were friends, childhood friends who end up re-meeting at their office because she comes to work at his job. And Hanako and Kabukura are co-workers who also are dating, I guess, sort of. So these two child mates she's always had a problem in relationships because she's an otaku, and the guys that she's with doesn't understand her being an otaku. For those who don't know, because I didn't know before I read this, otaku is someone who is computer obsessed, like obsessed with gaming, obsessed with anime and manga and nerdy things. So her boyfriends don't really understand her being an otaku. Hirotaka, all of them are otaku to an extent, and Hirotaka is also an otaku. Then he offers, hey, why don't we just date each other since you're having such a hard time? But I didn't really understand the setup of their dating. Like, I thought it was supposed to be like a fake dating scenario, and it wasn't. And then the scenes in between, the scenes of the story were just kind of vignettes, but not overarching. I was lacking the overarching story of what was happening until the very end when you get a little bit more about what was going on with their relationship. And the other couple, the secondary couple, are so toxic and gross, and I really didn't like them. And they're supposed to be funny because they like hate on each other all the time and argue all the time, but it was really obnoxious and really annoying, and it really took away from the story because I actually really liked the two of them. But the other two took up the most of the story that I found very annoying. So this was Combinations Volume 1 and 2. I didn't really care for it and I had high hopes for it, and I didn't really care for it as much as I hoped, so I rated it 3 stars. And next, I ended up listening to Bridgerton's Happily Ever After by Julia Quinn. So this is the book that has all of the second epilogues that were part of the Bridgerton series. So I actually read all the second epilogues separately as a part of the audiobooks for each one that I ended up reading. And the only reason I rated this one is because of Violet's novella, and that was the reason I ended up borrowing it from Libby. The Violet's novella, which is Violet Bridgerton is Mama Bridgerton. She is the mom of all the Bridgerton siblings, and her particular novella is called Violet in Bloom. This was about Violet and her story, just her overarching story. So you get some scenes and pieces about her love with her husband Edmund, and that was so sweet to see. And then you get a little bit of story about his death, and then a little bit more story about her kids pairing up together and how she feels being a grandmother. And I just thought just seeing her arc was really, really beautiful because I love Mama Bridgerton and I love Violet so much. So I love her getting her own story, and just her heart-wrenching about her love and losing her love in Edmund was just so beautifully done. So I really, really enjoyed that novella, and I rated it 4 stars. I also listened to part of the audio as well, is the second epilogue of To Philip with Love, because that was one of the epilogues that for whatever reason wasn't included in the audiobook that I listened to, so I had to listen to it separately. And this was about Amanda, I think it was Amanda, who's one of the twins, and it is about, she has grown up, and it's about her love story, and you see how she meets her husband and how that develops, and it was really cute and really sweet. You see a little bit of her interaction with Philip as a dad, and that was really sweet, and how he's come a long way as a dad because he had some bumpy roads in his particular book. So it was cute, but I also didn't really want Amanda. I just wanted more of Eloise and Philip, and I didn't really get to see that. Amanda talks about both of them, but she talks about them separately. You don't really get any scenes about them with them together, so that was kind of disappointing from that. Also, the other interesting thing about this particular one is that Julia Quinn wrote it in the first person, which is very different from some of her other books, so she was trying to challenge herself to do that for that. And it was cute, but then it also made it sound more juvenile, I think, because of that. And Amanda's young, so it was cute. It was okay. I ended up rating 3 stars. Next, I ended up reading an ebook. I ended up reading, this is a big deal because it's like been read by everyone, is I ended up reading A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. So this was about Tamlin and Feyre. So for those who don't know, this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and Sarah J. Maas is known for this particular series. There's several books more coming up in the series that I'm going to be trying to read as well. And this is the first book in the series. So The Court of Thorns and Roses is known as a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I knew that going into it, so that's what I was expecting, and it was. It was very much a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I got all the Beauty and the Beast retelling vibes. I liked some things, and some things I thought were a little bit just okay. Feyre, I really kind of liked Feyre's character. I thought she wasn't a damsel in distress. She definitely was one that went after her own. She was a badass in her own right, but then she also made very questionable choices. And I kind of was like, why are you doing this stupid thing? Why? But I still liked her at the end of the day. I still thought she was a badass. And I think that there was circumstances where she had to keep choosing violence even though she didn't want to. And I respected that for being kind of character that she had to do what she had to do. And I did like Tamlin. I know there's a lot of hate for Tamlin, and I'm sure there's reasons for that, and that comes up in the further books. But in this particular book, I like Tamlin. He wasn't that grad. He was a typical Beast character to me. But overall, I just felt like the writing was a little bit weak. The writing style was nothing to write home about. The world building was also really vague. Like, I didn't know what this world looked like. I mean, you kind of get into it a little bit. You kind of get told how it's supposed to be, but then there was mentions of going to the continent, and it was like, where is this continent? What continent are you talking about? It didn't seem like, it just seemed a little bit vague. I felt like I was a little bit confused about where they were, or if they were an alternate world, but like, was there more land? Like, the map that you get shown is very vague, at least for the first book. So that's kind of how I felt about it. It was okay. I still enjoyed it. I still liked the Beauty and the Beast retelling vibes. It kind of went off the rails a little bit at the end. I felt like it became kind of a little bit different of a story than I expected, but I still really liked it, and I still thought it was interesting, and I still really enjoyed it. So I rated it 3 stars. I'm interested to see what the rest of the series is going to look like, because obviously I know that, like, Tamlin doesn't stick around, and that there's a new love interest that comes into play, so we'll see how it goes. And next, I ended up listening to an audio. I read These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This was about Roma and Juliet. So it was Romeo and Juliet retelling, Shakespeare retelling. And it was set in the 1920s Shanghai. So in this particular retelling, Juliet and Roma are part of 2 rival gangs. And basically what happens is there is a sickness, some sort of debilitating illness that comes across people and makes them completely crazy to the point where they tear out their own throats. I know, very kind of bloody, kind of gory, very violent. And the rival gangs end up trying to team up, Romeo and Juliet trying to team up to be able to figure out what is happening, figure out where the sickness is coming from, and to make sure to protect their loved ones and protect their gangs from this virus that is specifically targeting them. And there's a lot about 1920 Shanghai, kind of gets into play of politics and communism and what's happening in that time period, and I found that really interesting. I had never seen that before. I also had never seen a retelling set in Asia. I thought that was really interesting. The writing was a little bit flowery maybe, but the audio was good. I was still able to flow with the audio. It starts really slow, but then it really, really picks up, and I was really interested and intrigued in it. I think their romance was just kind of okay, but it was a Romeo and Juliet retelling. They meet earlier on, and their romance was before this book. I think I would have liked to have seen more of that, and then I would have felt connected more to them and their romance and their connection. But most of this book, they kind of just hated each other, so you didn't really get a lot of that. and it was a little bit predictable, probably because it's Romeo and Juliet retelling, so I kind of knew what direction was going in, but also there was a little bit of a twist in the end, which I really appreciated. So I still really liked it. I ended up rating 4 stars. I liked it a lot more than I thought it was going to, and I just thought it was really interesting and unique, and I really enjoyed that part of it. Next, I ended up reading, finally finishing, this is because, and this is how I knew I was finally getting out of my reading slum, is I ended up finally finishing Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Shadow and Bone series, and I didn't get to finish the series before the TV show. That is okay. I've been avoiding spoilers as much as I possibly can for the TV show, and I want to finish the third book before I watch it. But this, you have Alina and Mal and the Dark Lane, as always. Alina is a powerful magicians, one of their magic people. This is more about her journey and what's been happening, and her and Mal, who's her best friend slash love interest, and the Darkling, who's the villain, but also kind of a love interest. This particular installment, not to spoil anything, but this particular installment dragged for a little bit for me. I just kind of was like, okay, what is going to happen next? And the last 20 pages, though, was all the things are happening. And kind of intense. I did like the new addition of the character Nikolai. He's a new favorite. He's kind of my new fave. I really enjoyed him. I just didn't find the second installment as enjoyable as the first book, but I'm still excited to read the rest of the series and read the last book in the series. Honestly, though, my personal opinion is that Alina should tell the boys, forget all of you. I'm just going to be a badass of my own, and I'm just going to leave you all in the dust. That's how I feel about Alina should do. So I rated this one solid 3 stars. And next, I listened to an audiobook. I listened to The Woman Who Rides Like a Man by Tamara Pierce. This was to prepare for, I was behind, I had to prepare for the read-along that Beautifully Bookish Bethany and Ashley from Bookish Realm are doing. Their live show is going to be on the 4th book, and they postponed it. They were supposed to be this past week, and now it's coming up next week. This is the 3rd book of the Alana series. So Alana and Jonathan and George. Alana is, Jonathan and George are her 2 love interests in this particular installment, and Alana she has now become a lady knight, so she's doing her knightly thing. She ends up meeting the Bazir Desert people, and this particular volume, I have to say, kind of dragged for me. So book 3 and 4, I literally do not remember at all. I've read these before. These are rereads for me. I read them back in high school, so it's been, hot minute. But I just don't remember anything about these 2 installments, which was kind of fun. It was almost like reading them new. I didn't know what I was getting into. The Bazir Desert people and Alana I thought was really interesting. However, it kind of reads a little bit of colonialism. There's a little bit of white savior. There's a little bit of misplaced appropriatism. It was a little bit more, did not reread as well in current times. But I did appreciate that apparently I did not read this because I listened to the audiobook, but I had seen in other reviews that Tamara Pierce did address this in an afterword that she had written many, many years later about how it was, had touched on themes that looking back now, she found inappropriate, which I really, really appreciate that she's reflected on that and has come to that conclusion now with more times, because these books were written in the 80s, so I appreciate that she took the time to do that. So it was cultural imperialism. It was okay. It just wasn't as great for me in this installment, and also it just kind of dragged. It was just a little bit boring. There's a lot of Alana and Jonathan. This is the book that Jonathan just becomes a real asshole. But there's a lot of George, and I am Team George. Jonathan, who? I don't even know. I don't know him. Who is he? So really 4 stars for George, but it was really barely 4 stars for me because I just wasn't really interested in this installment. I was kind of bored with this particular one. There just didn't feel like not enough happened in this particular installment of the series. But overall, I still really enjoyed, and again, 4 stars pretty much only goes to George. Then, following that, I ended up reading the 4th book, which was Lioness Rampant by Tamara Pierce of the Alana series. I also listened to it as an audiobook. And I remembered nothing from this book. Again, so it felt like I was reading it as brand new. So there was a whole nother love interest named Liam in this book, and I was like, Liam, who? Who are you? I have no recollection of you whatsoever. And I was just, the whole time, I was like, where's George? Where's George? Forget Liam. Anyway, so there was a whole thing about Liam. In this particular installment, you get a villain that has somehow come back from the dead. And it kind of, again, dragged a little bit, but it was at least a little bit interesting. There was a journey, there was a quest. They kind of went somewhere, and then Alana came back when she was like, I need to come back home. I think something's wrong. And that was when she found out about the villain coming back. And the last, like, hour, though, that I listened to was super, super action-packed and intense. And I wish I had had that dragged out a little bit, and a little bit longer, and a little bit more fleshed out for me. Also, the end conclusion with who she chose as her love interest, which I will not reveal, it was too sudden. I think I wanted a little bit more of the development of that. I mean, it kind of developed over the last 4 books, but I still really enjoyed this one. I still rated it at 4 stars. I think overall, I mean, even though most of the books I ended up rating 4 stars of the series, I think the series is kind of a 5-star series, just for nostalgia-wise, as well as just the fact of, for the time that Tamara Pierce wrote it in, it was pretty revolutionary. It was one of the first, like, YA heroine fantasies that existed in YA, when YA didn't really even exist as a genre, like, barely, in the 80s. So I just appreciate all of that. So 5 stars for the series as a whole for me. Each book individually, kind of more 3 to 4 stars, but I think it was still excellent and really still well worth a reread if you want to reread them, or read them for the first time. Do that as well. Next, I ended up reading an ebook. I read Priest by Sierra Simone. Okay. I'm going to try to not rant and rave about this as much as I possibly can. So, I know this is a BookTube favorite. I know this is a romance favorite. I have seen on Romancestagram and Bookstagram and RomanceTube about Priest. And I read it for book club. I don't know. I was really reluctant to read it in life, and I was didn't think I would read it because of book club. I ended up reading it. So, here we are. This was about Father Tyler Bell and Poppy. So this is a forbidden romance, obviously. This is between a priest, practicing Catholic priest, and a young woman who is non-religious at the time that she meets him. First of all, I should preface this by saying I am a practicing Catholic. So having a forbidden romance about a priest was a little bit kind of ooey for me, like, I'm not going to lie. Keep that in mind and bear with me when I say that and explain that. And let me go into what I liked about it. So what I liked about it was, I think the Catholic aspect was actually done very well. The Catholic religion was portrayed mostly accurately. The spirituality that Father Bell had was very beautiful, and I thought that was described and explained very well. And just his prayer life and the things that he was thinking, the Bible quotes that he was quoting as the book goes on, was all done really, really well. So yes, I liked it for those things. What I didn't really like was the romance part itself. Poppy is a pretty one-dimensional character. I didn't think that she was very developed to me at all. I just thought she was there just to kind of serve as the temptation for me. She kind of develops a little bit more as you further on, but really she acted as a placeholder for his temptation, for him having the romance that he did and leaving. And it's all told from his perspective, which I did like a book that was told from a male perspective. I thought that was interesting. It's not a ton of romances that are strictly from the male perspective. It's usually either female or dual points of view. That was interesting, but I think because of that, we lacked a lot of development and insight into Poppy and getting more development from her. I will say this book is extremely steamy. 5 flames, 10 flames, really. I mean, it's extremely, extremely steamy. So go into that knowing that with extreme caution if you're interested in this book at all. I would say the steamy scenes were great, not gonna lie. However, the steamy scenes are also very blasphemous. And I had, as a practicing Catholic, some issues with that. Luckily, I knew there was altar sex, so I was prepared for that. But then there's something that happens with the chrism oil. I'm not going to go into what, but I was like, I had to put the book down, and I was like, absolutely not. I'm going to take a break, and I can't do this right now. I will never look at chrism oil the same. Anyway, I was confirmed with that. If anyone's watching this and has read the book, you're going to probably be laughing. But if you haven't, you don't want to know. The ending fell a little bit flat and kind of dragged. The ex-boyfriend plotline, Poppy's ex-boyfriend plotline coming into the play was really cliche. I just kind of rolled my eyes when that whole scene thing happened. And Tyler Bell's struggle about, like, him leaving the priesthood and this taboo idea of what he had to do next kind of dragged a little bit. Because to me, as a Catholic, I'm like, you can leave the priesthood and be a deacon. You can be married as a deacon. In fact, because you've already done most of the priesthood work, becoming a deacon wouldn't be that far for you to do. and he could have just left, become a deacon. No one would have known. Would have been fine. So that was what I was thinking the whole time I was reading it. So there was lots of elements that I loved, but lots of elements that I didn't, and it fell flat. Flat for me, a lot. However, the steam's all great. I would be definitely willing to read something for Sierra Simone that is not nearly as blasphemous. So I have a solid 3 stars for that. Now, moving on. I'm also going to go into the reads that I did for the Love in the Night readathon. I can link my TBR up there. That is a readathon that was based on paranormal romance, so that was a lot of fun. I have read a lot of paranormal romance, but I haven't read a lot of paranormal romance recently, so it was really nice to try some new books for that and a change of pace. So to start off with, I ended up reading the group book, which was an ebook that was called Deal with the Demon by Chase Verity. This was about Heidi and Drystan. Drystan was a demon. He shows up to help Heidi, and basically he becomes a house husband. Because she's like, yeah, I need to go work. Can you just take care of my kids in the home and cook? And it'll be great. And he just basically goes to help her with her success, which is a little bit vague to me. I didn't really understand, like, her success, what his job was. He just goes to, like, help other people. But it was supposed to be a deal, but the deal was like, I'll just help you. And she was like, okay. He was like, I'll help you for 28 days. It's a little time strain. It's 28 days. And she was like, okay. And that's it. Like, I wanted a little bit more consequences. Like, I wanted more of, like, I will help you into your success, and at the end, if you get your success, I will take your soul, or something to that effect. But that wasn't what happened. I don't know. He was just a nice guy. He was supposed to be this demon, but he was, like, really, really nice, and also really loved her and really cared about her before she even met him, which I didn't know why. I didn't know where he met her and how, so you don't really get into that. I wanted a little bit more of that. So it was still really cute and sweet and wholesome for a demon book. If you want to try a demon book and want something really cute and sweet and wholesome, then this would be the book for you. And it has some great LGBT rep. We have a bisexual heroine, and she has 2 children. One of the kids is gay. So I really respected that, and I really enjoyed that for this book. But it was kind of just a little bit better than average. A little bit just cute and okay. So I rated it 3.5 stars. And then next, I ended up reading another ebook, Deal with Demons novella. This ebook is also a novella. This was called Mating the Huntress by Talia Hibbert, who is a Black author. This was about Luke and Chastity, an interracial romance, and a virgin hero, which I love a virgin hero. This was really, really cute. So we have Luke, who's a werewolf, and Chastity is his mate. And so he basically smells her scent on her sister goes out and is wearing some sort of hoodie. He smells the Chastity scent on her sister, and he's like, I need to meet and find this girl. So then you meet later in the story, and he has been trying to visit this girl at this cafe for several weeks to get up the courage to ask her out, because he's like, she's my mate, she's gonna be with her. I just want to live happily ever after with her, and it's just so sweet. And Chastity's like, so she's actually from a family of hunters, and she's like, I'm gonna kill him. So seeing the perspectives of them side by side was really funny, and I just really enjoyed that so much. She's from a family of hunters, but they've lost a lot of their knowledge about werewolves, so that kind of comes into play about how she approaches their relationship. And it was just really cute and really funny, and I really loved them. And also the novella was a little steamy. It was a lot of fun. Really, really enjoyed it. And I think also there was vibes of, like, a Red Riding Hood retelling is what I was getting from this, because there's also a whole scene where she's dressed in red and they're, like, in the woods. So I think that's what the vibes that I was going with. So I rated it 4.5 stars. Really, really enjoyed. So that's all I've read so far. So I'm going to come back later and wrap up with the rest of my reads for the month. So I will be back. Stay tuned. And I'm back. Hello. So here I am back to finish up my May wrap-up. I only read 2 more books that I am counting for May. The next up I had, also that was part of my Love in the Night readathon, was, I have the book for that one actually, is Slave to Sensation by Nalini Singh. This was a paranormal romance, a world where 2 creatures, or 2 human races have evolved, essentially. One is called Psy, Psy, and one is called Changelings. Psi are basically like, I've equivalated them as Spock. They are Vulcans. They do not feel emotions. They try to repress all emotions. And then you have Changelings, who are all about emotions and are very passionate, and they basically are animal shifters. They turn into animals. This particular romance is a Psi Changeling romance, so this race is Psi. There is a particular character, her name's Sasha, and Lucas, who is alpha of the leopard pack, but he turns into a panther. It was about the story of them getting together. I call this, in my mind, female Spock meets Jacob from Twilight. I think that is the closest approximation that I can get. I thought the world was really interesting. I thought them coming together was really sweet, and I really enjoyed that. I thought the writing was really engaging. I really got into the characters. I really connected with them right away. I felt the middle of it just kind of dragged. There's like something at stake where one of the changeling women has been kidnapped, and there is a Psi that is killing them as a serial killer, and Lucas tries to get Sasha to help. And so there was a whole moment of will she, won't she help, and da-da-da-da, and it kind of goes back and forth, and that just kind of part really dragged for me. Other than that, I still really enjoyed the book, and I really liked it, and there's a whole series. It is 20 books long series, but I'm definitely interested in checking out more of it, and it was interesting, and I really enjoyed it, so I rated it 4 stars. And last, I ended up reading Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. This was an Asian YA fantasy, and it is about Maya. She gets an offer where she can compete as an imperial tailor, but because tailors and their crafts have to be men, and she is a woman, she has to dress as a man. She pretends to be her brother. It was advertised as Mulan meets Project Runway, and it was on the blurb, it's on Goodreads, it was on everything, and the cover also is absolutely gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie. And I was taken in by that. I love Mulan. I love I've read original ballad Mulan, and of course Disney movie Mulan. You can't go wrong with that. And I love Project Runway. I love Project Runway so much. It's one of my favorite competition shows. And so I was really, really excited about this premise, but it really fell flat, and I am calling false advertising, unfortunately. I really wanted to like this, and it just was not it. The first 40% was the competition, but it really wasn't fleshed out a whole heck of a lot. Maya shows up, and immediately she starts getting in interactions with this guy who's called he's an enchanter. He's like a magician mage character, and his name is Eden, and she has a bunch of interactions with Eden, who kind of intersperse himself in trying to just help her in the competition, but just in a really annoying way. And the competition is over by 40%. And then the book goes in an entirely different direction, and she has to complete a quest and get Laughter of the Sun, Tears of the Moon, and Blood of the Stars to create 3 different dresses, which in itself is a really cool premise. But I wasn't advertised this quest, but the competition's over. The competition was done in the first 40%. And then the last, 55% is this quest. And it was 2 separate books. So I had really a lot of issues with the pacing of this. Also, the love interest with Eden just wasn't it. As you know, I read a lot of romances. I love romances, and I love YA romances even. But Eden was annoying. He was unlikable to the extreme. He made Maya think that she was like not other girls. He's also like this 500-year-old enchanter, which, can we just stop with the really, really old men who look young preying on young girls? Can we just stop that trope, please? It was, I really, really wanted to love this, but it was not for me. And I've seen there was a lot of reviews that I read on Goodreads that really liked it. And interestingly enough, though, in my book club that we discussed it just the other day, we were a mixed bag. There was a few that liked it and a few of us that didn't, and for those reasons. So I think it's a mixed bag. I think there's other people who might like it, and this might be for you, but it was not for me. It was really a big disappointment, and it makes me sad. At the end of the day, disappointed. And I rated it 2 stars. So that was kind of a bummer book to end with on my May reads, because otherwise May was not too bad. I read a lot of novellas still, but I think also it's because I'm still coming out of my reading slump, and also novellas kind of help me feel like intersperse my reading and give me something light and fluffy in between other things, so I enjoy it for that aspect. So as for my wrap-up total, I read 19 books this month, which is not too shabby. That was about the same as March. I think this goes back to kind of where I was at March. And I read 5 ebooks, 6 physical books, 8 audiobooks. As for my stars, I read 3 5 stars, 8 4 stars, that's pretty good, 7 3 stars, that's okay, and 1 2 star. Okay, it's an okay reading month. I don't think it was great. I think the 3 5 stars were waiting for spring, so I haven't had a good 5 star, and I read that early on in May, so I haven't had a good 5 star in a while. I'm due one. Hopefully I will get to a good 5 star read soon. And that is it for my May wrap up. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below what your favorite May read was. I would love to know. If you'd like to see more bookish things from me, please subscribe and hit likes and bells. I would really appreciate it, as well as follow me on all my social medias that I've linked down below, as well as I have also added a new thing. I've added my Amazon wish list for my Kindle, which is exciting and something new that I've added, so check all that down below. Thanks to you again so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye!